All right, let's answer some more Reddit questions and then respond to the comments, starting with this thread that we have on the screen: how to make an ADA compliant website on a budget, and parentheses, California. Hey, so I run a small restaurant venue and want to create a website and online menu, but I'm terrified by the prospect of these potential lawsuits. I'm already dealing with one for my outdoor dining area. Has anyone had success building one using some widely available tool, or will I have to hire some specialist? All right, so now before I answer, let's read through the comments. The first comment, which has the most upvotes, it says, I'm a developer. Making your website ADA compliant may not be as challenging as you think. Most of it comes down to making sure that links and images have proper attribute tags that describe what they are. False. That is absolutely not true. You can run an analysis for any website using pagespeed.web.dev. There will be an accessibility score reported here with things that need changing to improve your score. If you feel you need further assistance, expertise, feel free to reach out. Okay, so this person is definitely not an expert, and we know that based on what they are saying. First sentence: making your website ADA compliant may not be as challenging as you think. That's true if you start with the right foundation and you follow the right processes. But here he comes in the second sentence, and he says most of it comes down to making sure that your links and images have proper attribute tags that describe what they are. That is not only a gross oversimplification, that is just taking one small aspect of accessibility and really inflating it to comprise most of what the considerations you need to take into account. So that's also bad. And then he says you can run an analysis for any website using this scan. I have not used this scan before, but scans are very useful tools. They have basic rule sets, and they flag issues based on those rule sets, but that is by no means where you would stop. So really bad advice in this first comment. He gets a reply: thanks, I may send you a DM later. Okay, so again, it's so important to get the right information. The next response: from what I gather, a good idea would be to create your website and use the Wave tool to check it out. It basically tells you things like fixed contrast and alternative text for images. If you're fine, if you're then fine and protected from lawsuits is another question. Okay, so he alludes to the correct answer here. So Wave is always a good start. I always recommend Wave. I love Wave. It's beginner friendly. It's a very useful tool, but it is by no means conclusive, and we are still at the very beginning. Remember that accessibility comes down to manual review and manual evaluation. And what we do is we use automation to help supplement our efforts, but we don't rely upon a scan for anything conclusive. So what I would actually do here, getting to my answer, is I would create the website accessibly to begin with. So I wouldn't create the website and then try to fix it after the fact. I would integrate accessibility into the website as I was building it, so that way it's much, much easier. Someone wrote, I use Userway. Userway is an overlay widgets. Overlay widgets do not make your website accessible. They do not prevent lawsuits. So I definitely would not use Userway. And then we have another response. I'm a web dev designer and a DHS trusted tester for accessibility. Here are some hopefully helpful pointers. If you can build with WordPress, here are some themes that you can start with. Though I haven't done any accessibility audits on Squarespace, Weebly, and Wix, and could be fine. So I don't really understand that last part. Definitely make sure site passes automated tool like Wave. True. Automated tools catch 30 to 40% of accessibility errors. No, way too high. This number is commonly inflated by accessibility companies because they want to make it seem like automation does more than it does. Even with an automated scan, you still need to manually review those results. So no, scans do not catch 30 to 40% of accessibility errors, although it's possible with AI. Scans advance and then they can flag more accessibility issues. So part of this test would be making sure there are not enough contrast between foreground and background colors, alt tags for images that are non-decorative, and then decorative images don't need alt tags. So yeah, he's getting at the right thing here, but these are, first there needs to be a fuller explanation, but he's getting at something where it's just, you're really getting at one success criterion of, so many, like with WCAG 2.1 AA, there are 50. So just to put this in context, he's telling you about a few accessibility issues, and there are so many more to be aware of. He says if you are using a PDF for the menu, make sure the PDF is accessible. Great point. Otherwise, just make a simple bulleted list for the menu on the page. Do not upload an image of the menu, as screen readers won't be able to read it. That is great advice. I really like that he added it because it is so true. Do not use an image of the menu. He said add a skip navigation links up top so users can bypass navigation if they want to. And also, if you can, provide two ways to navigate around your site. So if you have links up top, you can repeat links at the footer. Some good general advice. Test navigating the website with the keyboard only. Great advice. Generate an accessibility statement and disclose areas that you aren't sure are accessible, including third-party apps for ordering. This is something that this is something I would consult with my attorney on, because if you're disclosing accessibility issues, then you may just be opening the gateway to a lawsuit where one may not have occurred. So, this just gets into, in your accessibility statement, don't state any more than you have done, but you also don't have to list out every single accessibility issue. It really comes down to your situation and what you want to do. On if I have a website and I have a known accessibility issue, I'm going to list that issue out because it's usually not going to be, it's never going to be anything that's a barrier to access. It's more just like, this is a known issue with an integration, and here's what it is. But it really depends on your specific situation. So I wouldn't automatically disclose every single, or list out accessibility problems. But that's up to you. And then assign someone in your company as the accessibility manager to reach out if they need help navigating or using the website. It's good to have an accessibility coordinator, but that's probably going to be, at this point, it's probably going to be the proprietor. But some good advice in this last paragraph. Here's what my advice would be: how to make a website ADA compliant on a budget. Well, just first start off with the fact that if you're paying less, it comes at a sacrifice, right? So it's like you can't get more from less usually. So if you're paying less, just know that there are likely some sacrifices in precision and finding every last accessibility issue. But here's how I would maximize my money, and I'm going to read through some of my notes. Simplify your website. Reduce the number of interactive elements. Interactive elements are the source of a lot of accessibility issues because we need to be concerned with navigation. We need to be concerned with labels. We need to be concerned with functionality. There are just so many things that can arise from interactive elements. So the less interactive elements you have, the easier it is going to be to make your website WCAG conformant. I would use a WordPress theme that prioritizes accessibility. This doesn't mean that you're finished. Even if you have a WordPress theme that says that it's fully accessible, and even if it is, remember, you're still updating that website. You are adding content. So if you do so, you may introduce accessibility issues where there are none. Also, even with accessibility ready themes, they can still have issues. So just know that. But it is a really good start. And this way you build from a more accessible foundation. I will include a link in the description. It will be an affiliate link to the framework, the WordPress framework, which acts as a theme that I use personally. I also have a WordPress accessibility course that's going to direct you into all of the different particulars to WordPress where you can work on accessibility. And then when it comes to the theme or the framework, just know that if you use a theme and you upload a theme to change the design of that framework, the new theme can introduce accessibility issues. Also, if you want to keep this really simple on yourself, you could just forward your domain name to Facebook and use your Facebook business page as your website. And so you would link to that in your Google business profile, and that would be your page. And Facebook is going to provide a great layer of insulation, because we do not see lawsuits around Facebook pages. I'm not saying it can't happen, but it's not happening yet. Right now, it is independent websites on their own domains. So just keep that in mind. And then I would have someone create an accessible PDF menu if you wanted. Otherwise, you could add the menu in plain text, but just make sure that you use headings and make sure that you use a bullet point list. That one comment had great advice: do not take a picture of your menu. So many restaurants do this. I would not do that. And then it says, and then also you can hire a developer for a la carte hours. But if you do, make sure that you have instructions on what you want the developer to work on. So you don't want to just say, make my website ADA compliant, because you're just going to run up the hours if that's the case, because then they're going to be locating different issues, and then they're going to look through all the different pages. Instead, you want to direct their focus, because again, you're on a budget and you're not getting a full audit, you're not getting a full remediation. So you're going to want to point out exactly where you want this developer to focus on. So that means there is work on your end. Again, because we are sacrificing some of the payment, then we have to take a step back and do more of the work ourselves. On your menu, I would insist upon PDF UA conformant menu. So that's a standard for accessibility for documents. So that's what I would look for, is PDF UA standard. I would also work on the accessibility of the content yourself. So usually this means with videos. If you have videos, you definitely want to have closed captions. Audio descriptions are also important. I haven't seen too many lawsuits mention audio descriptions, but just keep in mind they are important. And with an audio description, it is basically someone narrating all of the visual information that is being presented. That you won't be able to do yourself, but if that's the case, you may not want to have videos that have background information, and you might just want to have someone speaking about your restaurant if that's the case. Otherwise, I would just take the video off your website. And then images. So as that one commenter alluded to, you have alt text, you have no alt attributes for images that are merely decorative. If you have linked images, you're definitely going to have an alt text value. So that's just something you have to be aware of. My WCAG course helps explain all of these different considerations. And then it's unlikely you have audio unless you have a podcast for your restaurant. I don't see that being the case. If you did, you'd want to provide a transcript. And then, of course, documents. So getting back to your menu PDF, that is where you would want to focus and make sure that PDF is accessible. And then alternatively, you could just have a page on your website that has the menu. But again, you would want to make sure that you have structured it correctly using semantics so that the menu is easily accessible. So that is what I have to say on this on a budget. And I understand the budget. The professional services can cost multiple thousands of dollars, if not several thousands of dollars. But that is what I do. It is possible. There are different routes to this. I think what I would do is I would simplify my own website, keep it, especially if I had existing search engine benefits. If I wasn't ranking in Google, I may be inclined to just use my WordPress website and not worry about anything else. But not your WordPress, your Facebook page, and not worry about anything else. But even if you use your Facebook page, make sure that your content is accessible. And the WCAG course is going to help you understand all of these different considerations. But you are working on a budget, so there is some sacrifice in the sense that it's not thorough. This is makeshift. You're doing the best with what you can, but you can have a fully WCAG conformant website, and that would be best practice for ADA compliance. So we've talked about on a budget here, some bad information in the comments, but there also is some good information. So with that, that is how I would make an ADA compliant website on a budget.